you're watching News X and I'm Kriti Mehta. Now, Pakistan's obsession in forming an Islamic NATO never seems to die down. 6 years ago, it was attempted by Imran Khan, who formed a bloc with Mahathir Mohamad of Malaysia and Erdogan of Turkey. They wished to expand it but was vetoed heavily by the Arab nations, who saw it as an attempt to derail the OIC. Now that Pakistan, Saudi and Turkey have signed the defence pact known as the Makkah Pact, Khwaja Asif says it is open to expansion. Let's examine why this pact may be doomed to fail. Firstly, who's definitely not joining Islamic NATO? Iran. Iran views the pact as potential threat. Iran is one country that's definitely watchful of this pact. Then Iraq as well. Close geopolitical, economic and security ties with Iran makes Iraq also in a difficult position. Then there's Oman, which is pursuing a mediating or neutral foreign policy role as of now, including in the ongoing Middle East conflict. Qatar is also there, that's maintaining independent relationship with India. UAE, it's India's closest ally in the Middle East so far. These 5 nations are definitely not joining Islamic NATO. That itself is a big setback for Pakistan, which is looking to expand this trilateral agreement. Let me now open this up for discussion with my guests. I'm joined in by former diplomat Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee and retired Major General K. Bansal as our defense expert. Thank you very much to you both for joining us. General Bansal, I want to start with you. This proposed arrangement reportedly includes language that treats an attack on one as an attack on all, which is NATO's language. In a future India-Pak conflict, would Saudi or Turkey be obligated or pressured to support Pakistani military?
Good evening. See, if it is closely watched or closely studied, this kind of pact is basically for the protection of Saudi Arabia from Iran. As far as the India is concerned, India is closely watching it. Now, if you see during this Operation Sindhu, the Turkey has given all military support and intelligence to Pakistan.
Yes.
And we know the result that yes, Pakistan was nowhere in the India within no time. Very shortly, they came on their knees and requested for the ceasefire. As far as the Saudi Arabia is concerned, Saudi Arabia does not have any kind of weapons. So basically what I feel personally that this is not against India. Of course, there may be some kind of instability in the region, but basically it is because of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is going here and there, and they are not finding how to go about it, because Saudi Arabia had initially pact with Pakistan that any attack on the Saudi Arabia will be considered on Pakistan also. But will the Pakistan attack Iran? Saudi Arabia is attacking Iran. Houthi is attacking Saudi Arabia. This Iran is attacking Saudi Arabia, and Houthi is attacking Saudi Arabia. Now even Saudi Arabia has a pact with the Sudanese army, and they have made a kind of security wall between their borders about 1800 kilometers. But at this moment, when the Houthis are so aggressive that they could not do it. As far as Turkey is concerned, there is a rivalry between Turkey and Saudi Arabia, because both of them they want to become the regional power. So these 3 countries, you take Saudi Arabia, you take Iran, you take Turkey, they want to be the Khalifa of that particular region. So this is just like that only. It will be totally ineffective, which has been totally dismissed by the Iran. It will not be. And if you see, there is no structure, there is no headquarters, there is no operational funds, there is no joint command or some kind of thing which is NATO was having. And they must learn one lesson that NATO itself is breaking. So what will they do with making the new NATO? If something will happen in future, I feel that there will be some kind of coalition between Israel, Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries to counter Iran. And Iran is the main threat for that region, specifically for the Saudi Arabia. And they are already attacking, and they have this Houthi are already creating problem for Saudi Arabia.
Right.
So the Saudi Arabia have the stake both in Hormuz as well as this Red Sea. So this will not be of any consequence, I feel so.
All right,
Thank you.
Ambassador, now I want to come to you. Pakistan is also the only nuclear armed participant in this. Does this cooperation risk extending any form of nuclear umbrella or deterrence signaling to partners?
I think we should look at this debate in a holistic perspective. If there is a conflict between India and Pakistan, can one seriously consider that Saudi Arabia will get involved in it? No. Even he will not get involved. Then there is another major problem in this so-called Islamic NATO, which is an Islamic Sunni NATO, which is, and I'm sure my co-panelist General Saab knows that, like me, that in the Pakistani army, right from independence, their regiments are not divided between Shias and Sunnis. They don't have Shia regiments and Sunni regiments. That is why in the past, I can tell you, there were several demands made by Saudi Arabia, for long-standing demands, that they wanted an all Sunni Pakistani regiment for defense purposes in Saudi Arabia. But the Pakistani army chief from then till now has systematically refused to divide up the Pakistani army into battalions which are divided according to Shia and Sunni. Therefore, in this Islamic NATO, there would be a huge danger in an undivided Shia-Sunni battalion utilized for an Islamic Sunni NATO. Secondly, the Saudis have a very warm, I would go to the extent of saying cozy relationship with India and her government. I don't see them getting even remotely involved in any conflict between Pakistan and India in the future, regardless of whether there's an alliance. Thirdly, as my co-panelists correctly pointed out, that we have excellent relations with the United Arab Emirates, etc. They would never ever get involved in any arrangement by which they would be drawn into a conflict against India. Similarly, the Pakistani armed forces would be very wary of using their nuclear assets to defend Islamic countries, because that would be wonderful for India. They should use up their Islamic assets to defend their brotherhood. That would leave them with less assets which they have utilized and put on the border with India. They want to also do that. If they have a really cozy regime in Bangladesh, they can put their Islamic assets on the Bangladesh-India border if they want to. Then they would. How many assets do they have? You have to look at the facts and figures which come out once a year from the SIPRI book to see what are Pakistan's nuclear assets. How many of them are operationalized? How many of them can be intercepted and taken down? And finally, the final factor is the United States of America, with Trump or without Trump, will never permit the emergence of an Islamic Sunni NATO. Full stop. I don't think this proposal is going anywhere. It will be the subject of some nice discussions and debates like we are having now, and then it will go the way of its predecessors, because Islam today is divided between Shias and Sunnis. And since Islam is totally divided between extremists and moderates. So there is united Islam, which I think is very fortunate for India.
General, I think you've spoken about Turkey, Ambassador, you've spoken about Saudi, UAE. Let's just put a final word to it then. Is Islamic NATO mostly rhetoric and symbolism? rather than a functional alliance, because major Muslim majority nations including Iran are excluded or are at odds, and deep rivalries persist even among the potential partners. There are divisions, structural dependence on external powers like the US, and there is lack of integrated command or institutions here.
So very rightly said by Ambassador Mukherjee that, if you see all these countries, whether you take Saudi Arabia, you take Pakistan and Turkey, maybe having some kind of drones they are making, manufacturing, but they are still asking for F-35 from America. Similarly, Saudi Arabia does not have its own equipment or any weapons, and Pakistan, of course, is taking from China. What way they can support? They have got a kind of, basically there is a mutual, or there is a selfish interest of Pakistan. Pakistan needs some kind of money. When they had entered with the Saudi Arabia with the pact, they got few $billion to pay their debt. Similarly, now also they may get some money. But otherwise, Pakistan is of no use or consequences. How can they do anything? And moreover, what deterrent they can make for that bluff of the nuclear bluff, whether their warheads are really able to be used, or they do have any delivery system, that is doubtful. And that because it is being said that this is under control of America, whatever nuclear weapon they have got. Now, how can when Saudi Arabia cannot be protected by US, how can Saudi Arabia be protected by whether Turkey or by Pakistan from Iran? So Iran is not worried and not concerned about the nuclear weapons. In that way, the USA is having the nuclear weapons, and Israel is also having nuclear weapons. Still, Iran is not deterred by them. What way this Pakistan nuclear weapon will deter? So there was that once some such kind of coalition is there must be some motive. This NATO was made between the European countries that they will fight, or they will stop advance of Russia or the USSR, and that also at the moment not much effective is there. So similarly, this is just, I think that they have, or Pakistan has got nothing else to do other than just liaising for the peace deal, which they are failed miserably. This peace deal between Iran and America. Similarly, they are liaising now with the Saudi Arabia, Turkey. Just maybe they are getting few dollars. That's all what I feel personally.
All right, sure. My final question in this discussion is, of course, on India, Ambassador Mukherjee. What steps can India really take, whether it's, in your opinion, deepening tech partnership or defense partnership with countries like UAE, Israel, or others, or diplomatic engagements with Riyadh, or military preparedness to protect its interests without really overreacting to this development that many are saying is still just limited in substance?
We haven't reacted precisely because we value our relations with Saudi Arabia, and we work out everything with Saudi Arabia quietly from the back. We haven't reacted. Secondly, it is important for young Indians to remember, and my co-panelist is distinguished general from the armed forces, that India stands alone to defend its borders. From 62 to 2026, nothing has changed. We will, with our armed forces and our people, defend and continue to defend our territorial integrity alone. Nobody has ever come to India's help militarily. They have given us in the past. I remember when Kargil happened, with great difficulty, we got some snowshoes from the Europeans who have some silly rule that if you are in a conflictual situation, they can't even give you snow boots or snow goggles, etc. We learned that lesson. We have stocked up on everything. We have increased defense production. We are using our resources, whatever we have, to ensure our own security. We are not dreaming any dreams of anybody coming to defend India. We will defend ourselves as we have done in the past. If anybody tries to make a terrorist attack on us, we will give it right back to them and more. And people should remember, as far as Bangladesh and Pakistan is concerned, that we have many assets which we can use against them, which are not military assets, but which can have devastating aspects. And that includes the judicious use of water when we are the upper riparian state. So we are not a country that goes around with bravado, talking about this, that, and the other. We do our diplomacy quietly. Our armed forces defend our borders. The people of India stand with the armed forces. We are not at all afraid of any make-believe Islamic NATO. And I can tell you frankly, there can be no Islamic NATO ever, because Islam is not united at all. Islam is not just divided between Shias and Sunnis. Islam is deeply divided within itself on its own ideology, whether it should be fundamentalist or not, whether it should go in for active conversion or not, whether it should go in for forced conversions or not, and what kind of relationship should Islam have with a resurgent Israel. There's complete division of opinion. Where is the ideological oneness? Therefore, India has nothing to worry about. And I doubt very much if we would say much about this so-called Islamic NATO, which again is the brainchild of the rather brainless, if you excuse my saying so, Pakistani defense minister. Because defense ministers should not talk so much. They should concentrate on defending their country. And my final point is, what is this Islamic NATO going to do when Pakistan starts disintegrating itself because of the forces within it, like Balochistan? If it breaks, and Pakistan asks Saudi Arabia and Islamic NATO to send forces to forcibly put down fellow Muslims who are protesting against neo-colonization of the Pakistani state in Balochistan, what are they going to do? They'll keep well out of it. They're not going to get involved. No, not at all. So I feel personally that this Islamic NATO, like its predecessors, will die a natural death. After some discussions over conferences, maybe they'll have a conference, maybe the Field Marshal will say, why not make Islamabad the capital of the Islamic NATO? That can also happen. Since the Field Marshal is so fond of traveling, he may say that Islamabad is excellent capital for Islamic NATO. Good luck to him. He is not looking at Balochistan. He is not looking at the border with Afghanistan. He is not looking at the restlessness within the people of Pakistan who see development escaping them. He is not looking at the protests which are being brutally put down in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and what kind of impact that is happening. Pakistan-occupied Kashmir can see the progress which has happened in our part of Kashmir. That is why there are so many protests.
Yeah.
They don't have any rule. They are ruled from Islamabad. So
All right.
I let Pakistan disintegrate by itself. We will stand by and watch the fun. Thank you.
Yes, Ambassador Mukherjee and General Bansal, thank you very much for joining us in this discussion.